So I'd just like to welcome everyone. We'll get this meeting started. Um, um, Basically, what's happening in, I guess, Indian country or across First Nation communities is that there's a big disproportionate of power and things that are happening right now. We have chief and councils that have access to a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars with settlements and stuff like that. They have access to the Indian Act, they have access to lawyers, and they have total control of First Nation communities. And when you're a band member trying to speak up for yourself or trying to speak up for others, like when it comes to housing or renovations or anything like that, a lot of people get brought down. And when you try to speak up or anything like that, what happens is you get met with lawyers and they shut you up and shut you down. So I wanted to have a meeting to discuss all this, not only having my input on here as well too, but having a lot of people's other inputs as well too. If people wanted to talk or put in some of their 2 cents, it'd be nice to hear from you. So you guys can unmute your mic, or if you guys want to talk, you guys can just open the mic up and start talking if you guys feel like talking. So I leave the floor open if anybody wants to talk. It's up to you guys. Joseph, I can hear you, but you need to unmute yourself. Okay, well, if no one wants to talk, I guess I'll continue talking until someone wants to talk, I guess. So what I've always pictured and what I've envisioned is a group, an organization, kind of like the way the AFN was started, but the AFN basically is a lobby group. We all know that it's federally funded, and who controls it is whoever controls the money. What needs to happen is that there needs to be an organization that comes from the grassroots, from the ground up, and it needs to be run with our laws. It needs to be run with who we are as a people and respect who we are as a people, just like how it was before. We have to group together and we got to work together, or else our communities, our rights, our land, our resources will be taken from us, our language, our culture, our ceremonies. We are slowly being assimilated. We're being assimilated into Canadian society and Canadian culture, moving in a Eurocentric way. Our communities are being colonized, the language is disappearing, the ceremonies are disappearing, people are getting rid of the old values and we're starting to come for new values. There's nothing wrong with money and adapting and stuff like that, but we can't have the cost of ourselves disappearing. So what I've actually wanted to do, if whoever wanted to join an organization to actually formally organize, to incorporate. I know people say, well, why incorporate under Canada? Why have a non-profit organization? Or we have to do things like that. Why do we have to go to courts? It's just my opinion that we have to utilize these systems and utilize these ways to our advantage. My grandmother always said, learn the cunning of the white man. Learn, get educated, but do not end up in their systems and do not end up, I guess, becoming one of them. She would always speak Cree and say, stop acting like a white person. Understand who you are, know who your roots are, and know who you are. So if anyone wants to jump in, you guys can speak. You guys can unmute yourself anytime. But this is just an idea, and it's something that I want to formulate. And if you guys want to come in an organization and organize, I think that's our next point. All of us are in our own groups. We're all being one by one. We all have our little groups. But we gotta group up. We gotta continue to organize and help one another. We can't continue to be acting one-on-one or reserve by reserve. We have to come together. Go ahead. You can speak, Erica.
I was looking online on the United Nations World Heritage Tangible Cultural Site to determine what culture is tangible to be documented. There's nothing for Canada at all.
Yeah.
Nothing. And there's no Indigenous communities, First Nation communities, nothing.
Whoever's watching this, come back on Zoom. We had technical difficulties. Things shut down. Sorry about that. Sorry about, yeah, there, come back on. Let's wait for the people to come back on. Sorry for cutting, there we go. So yeah, I'll continue to talk. I had a question there from someone who said they want to know, where would this be registered? Where would it be registered? It would be federal. It would be a federally registered. Erica, you can go ahead and speak again. Sorry. The meeting cut off. I don't have, it had its 40-minute limit. I don't have Pro, but I'll upgrade to Pro next time. I apologize. But Erica, if you want to speak again, go ahead, Erica.
Yeah, so I was looking into that, and the list was started back in 2003, right? So it's not like Canada didn't know. They chose not to participate. That's why there's nothing for Canada on the list. So I thought maybe it's just, maybe the culture, maybe it's something like it's too high end for us, right? Maybe we just didn't make the cut. If China can have the art of tug of war on there, why isn't there any Sundance mentioned, any type of ceremony is mentioned at all? There's nothing for any Indigenous population at all on there, and that worries me, because then that shows that we don't think that there's anything tangible in our culture to document, so that way it's there listed, right? I don't understand. They don't have anything listed for Canada at all.
What would you suggest? Like, what would you want to do? What do you think's the solution to that?
Well, I'd like to find out, first of all, who decided that there's nothing tangible for any culture here in Canada at all to be listed there. The other thing that kind of worries me with Canada is the government, right? And how the way the government's set up, how that's going to affect us and our treaties and our rights as well, right? Because we have our inherited rights and we have our treaty rights too. And well, the treaty rights are nation to nation, and those never expire. They're there, right? And I think it's more a matter of not even just a mismanagement of funds, it's a mismanagement of human beings, right?
Yeah.
Like right down to where
Yeah.
The RCMP are corrupt. You know what I mean? Like, I had my treaty check stolen out of my house. I called the RCMP here in New Brunswick. They go, what do you want us to do about it? I'm like, your job? I'd like you to do your job. There's theft. You know what I mean? There's forgery. There's identity theft because they stole my IDs and everything like that and cashed my treaty check. Yeah, no, dude. No, they didn't do anything about that at all. So it's a matter of us, the whole indigenous population across Turtle Island. They wanna do genocide either slowly or all at once, but I think it's going to be a slow type of genocide, like what they've been doing, colonizing us, everything like that. I've been looking into things right down to the vaccines. Those things are poisonous. And they even said they were starting to do investigations. And the guy that made the mRNA, he's like, that mRNA, that synthesizes your proteins and it starts exploding your cells inside your body pretty much to multiply the protein, the protein to be synthesized multiple times in your system. So right there, as soon as you get that, you get the vaccines, you're poisoned. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the Masonic Creed by John D. Rockefeller, but they talk about poisoning us.
You're kind of, can I interrupt you? You're kind of getting off topic.
Yeah.
Can we keep it on topic, not about vaccines and stuff like that? We're here to talk about the organization of our people, organizing and coming together, not individualism. I'm not trying to put you down or anything like that, but as chair, we need to keep it on I guess, speaking on topic. So, yeah, if you want to add anything else, you can go ahead, but try to keep it on topic, please.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. I get a little passionate and there's a lot of things connected and I don't mean to bring in the extra stuff into your meeting. I do apologize.
Yeah. Anyone else would want to speak? If you guys want to speak, you guys can go ahead. Unmute yourself. Go ahead. You're still mute, Joshua. I see that you're speaking. You got to unmute yourself.
There we go.
Yeah,
Hi,
go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joshua Brass. I'm from the Papikasese First Nation, Treaty 4, Saskatchewan. My mom's from Sutanan, Treaty 7 here, and I'm calling from Calgary in the traditional Blackfoot territory. I'm glad that you had this meeting, and I just want to say from the front, Hans, I've been following you for, I think, since you first started talking on the different platforms, and I'm amazed of what you've done and what you've been through, and that's one thing I want to talk about is when you're exposing your nation, it can be scary, and like the threats you get, and you don't get any opportunities. I'm a professional. I've been to university. I worked all over, and my band don't hire me. They hire people who don't have the skill set that are close to chief and council, and they haven't released our audits since I think it's going on about 7-8 years now, and they have quick audit meetings on a reserve that just the band members can see, and once in a while they'll throw up a Zoom link and they'll get the auditor to go really quickly through the audit and then close it down and just do the highlights and not share like the statement of remuneration for how much the chief and council are making, bonuses and travel. And I was thinking about I'll just add the COVID funds, and my reserve got $3.2 million, and it's not a big mystery, but people know where those COVID funds were spent, and a lot, I'd say 75% of them were spent in the wrong way, and we're trying to get information about that. And so I'm glad that you won your case, and I'm glad you're opening that, because it opens the doors for others of us to speak up. I'm holding off doing an interview with APTN at the moment, because I want to make sure I got the right people behind me before I go and put myself out there and tell the world about what's going on. But I'm inspired by some of the work you've done, and we shouldn't have to be afraid to tell the truth. Requesting accountability shouldn't have to be a big mystery that you have to unlock. And so I just want to share that for some opening remarks, that I see a lot of what you've shared on my nation, and it's pretty scary. And 80% of our reserve live off 80% of our membership lives off reserve and are overlooked and got maybe $100 during the COVID funds. So, you know, and then there's the CEDA funds as well that are every Saskatchewan reserve gets. And all that is spent on governance, but it's supposed to be spent on community. So I share a lot of your concerns and the work you've been doing. And yeah, I think I need to move ahead, but it's just, for me, I feel like I want to make sure I have, you know, a team around me of people who are saying stuff. And I always share your material on our nation. Everyone has a community nation page on Facebook. So yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm interested to hear what other people have to say as well as yourself. So thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you, Joshua. Really appreciate you and speaking out about transparency in your community and stuff like that. And that's why I started all of it. Started speaking. I can't take credit for starting all of this. It's not me, it's the people. I'd just like to say that I'm thankful that there are people out there that are moving ahead and moving forward and doing things on their own. But one thing I would like to say is that there's a reason why. I'll get to you in a bit, Eagle Chief. I see that you raised your hand. Like I said in the beginning, I would like to get a organization together from grassroots people, from us, not APT, not AFN, or not these chief and council systems that are controlled by the federal government. We need a grassroots system for grassroots people, and we need something that helps our people out. Like when Josh was talking about them going for transparency, a lot of our reserves are going transparency, but imagine if all of us were together. Imagine if we were organized. Imagine if we had resources to help band members. That would be a wicked organization. Like, it's so cliche when they talk about like one stick will break easy and 10 sticks come together. But a lot of those foundations and fundamentals and principles really hold true to what we're doing and what we need to do. So, Eagle Chief, I'll let you speak. If you want to speak, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Eagle Chief, are you there? Are you trying to unmute yourself? Well, if anyone else wants to make some comments, hold on, breaking out.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, Eagle Chief. Go ahead.
I don't know how to put my hand up.
Eagle Chief, you can go ahead first, and then Marie will talk to you next. Eagle Chief, you having difficulties? Just give me a second. There we go, chats.
Hello?
There we go, I can hear you now.
Okay. I don't know where I cut out.
You just cut out, we just heard you just now.
Okay, sorry. We've been doing land back with these 3 illegally amalgamated reserves, where the only with 2 treaties, with Treaty 4 and Treaty 6 in Canada. Mosquito, Grizzly Bear's Head, and Lean Man First Nations. From what I've seen throughout time is the corruption, and from the Indian agents just taking lands for themselves whatsoever. Now knowing there's like not even supposed to be going over how many feet, right? Where they were only allowed so much. Here they've got pipelines, and they've got the mines, just everything, where it's rooting Mother Earth. We're facing climate change. We're at the point of fighting for our own rights, our inherent rights. That $5 needs to change because of the fact that everything's changed. Meanwhile, the hierarchy are sitting with trillions of dollars and laughing at the homeless. And here we've got to buy and pay lawyers for land back. There's so much corruption that even AFN, FSIN, because now they're playing with the people's rights. We have so much homelessness, and now culture's at risk because they're taking our rights. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Eagle Chief. Marie, would you want to speak next?
Tatam Scott na gakyo. Betoin?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I guess for me, the reason why I came in here is I wanted to actually start getting organized, but not under a colonial regime, because we've always been under a colonial regime, and it has not done us any good. We always frame ourselves within the colonial way of point of view, how they look at us, how they've pulled us into their white supremacist constitutional regime. And the reason why they did that is because the treaties they wrote, we have to remember there's our version and their version. It's their version that allowed them to come up with a constitution that says that they assume jurisdiction over our lands, our motherland, and our humanity, which is Indians and lands reserved for Indians. And that doesn't sit right with me. If we're going to get organized, we have to, we talk about land back. When we talk about land back, we're talking about the motherland and the peoples within it. And we can't escape the fact that we're stuck with these Muniawak, Sigpatuawak, the masses that have come to make our motherland their home. But they all carry the same responsibilities as part of the Canadian constitutional regime. We are separate from that. We never joined the Canadian Federation. And for us to try and organize under that regime is self-defeating. That's the way I look at it. It's self-defeating because it doesn't use the power of our ancestors, our ancestral lands, our ancestral ways of being. There is no way our ancestors would have ceded or surrendered our motherland. No way in hell. Because of the laws that governed us as human beings, the natural laws, the spiritual laws of the universe. Those are the laws that still govern us today. Those are the laws that we're following when they accorded the Munio shared use of the land to the depth of the plow. That's all they were supposed to take. And they were following that natural law and those universal laws, spiritual laws. That's what our treaty is based on, is those natural laws and spiritual laws. That's our foundation. And those are unreachable by the Munio. They're unreachable. They can't change those laws because they carry truth. And to me, That's where we need to stand. Our treaty governs our relationship. It's a sacred treaty. It's not the written text, the number treaties, the Robinson treaties, the Douglas treaties, all these so-called treaties that were written up by the Monial, in Monial, with the Monial mindset. That's where you get the Dominion of Canada from. That's where the wording comes from. That's why they were used that wording. That wording is used to justify Section 9124 of the Canadian Constitution. That's where the Indian Act comes from. So if we're going to get organized, we need to organize in a way that's consistent with the sovereignty and the self-control that our ancestors had when they went into the treaty relationship, knowingly and fully understanding what they were doing. They chose life. They chose life. That's why the peace treaty. If they had warred against the Monial, if they had fought the Monial, I don't think we'd be here today. Because war takes life. Peace upholds life. And they chose life. And as we should too. So in saying that, we need to organize in accordance with the way we were organized, the way when we sat across from the Monial, when our ancestors had their pipes. Our pipe represents what we did not give up at the time of treaty making. It represents our land, our way of being. The stem represents our way of being. The bowl represents our motherland, the strength of who we are as Niweo. The tobacco represents the people, and the sponge that goes up towards the Creator and towards our ancestors, that's our sustenance. That's anything our Creator put on our motherland that would sustain us. That includes the oil, that includes the lithium. Everything our Creator put on our motherland was for a purpose. Just as every life has a purpose, everything our Creator put on our motherland carried a purpose. It had a purpose. It served a purpose, and it served the purpose to sustain our motherland so life would continue. And the seventh generation looking ahead, that's our responsibility today. The Monial is tuning in to our vibe. They're tuning in, and they realize that their own people are doing something that's very, very wrong, that's going to go against life itself. Those AI centers being one of them. The more desecration of our motherland is another one. So from where I sit as an old person, my great-great-great-great-grandfather, Bobtail, Tiscayo, sat across from the Monial at Blackfoot Crossing, the very same time as the Blackfoot Confederacy sat across from the Monial when they made treaty. But the Monial gave us our treaties numbers. To me, that's not what we follow. We follow our ancestral truths about when we made treaty with the Monial, to the depth of the plow, the laws that we followed at the time we made treaty. So when I talk treaty, I talk about the Musquetees Treaty. That was done at the same time, September 25th, 1877. The Blackfoot Confederacy entered into their treaty relationship on September 23rd, 1877. I don't give them Treaty 6. They stuck us in Treaty 6 because the colonial being said, well, the Crees and the Blackfeet don't get along, so we're going to stick Bobtail and his Cree people under Treaty 6. That's where most of the Cree are at. But that was a colonial decision. That wasn't our decision. So all those numbers mean nothing to me. Nothing. Those words on paper mean nothing to me. They're just a colonial crap full of lies, you know? So if we're going to stand up to the Monial, we have to do it strategically, and we have to do it with the spirit and intent that our ancestors had, and that's to uphold life itself. And sharing land does not mean. I talked about the Robinson Treaty on Facebook today. When we look for the billions and billions that they owe us, do you realize how corrupt and how deceptive, how conniving the Monio is? We all know that. They're going to pay us those billions. Then they're going to say, well, we paid you your billions. Now, the depth of the plow, that no longer exists because we paid you for taking your land, for not living up to those treaty promises that our ancestors made. We're paying you now, but we now own the land. We now own you, your humanity, your way of being. We can dictate whatever we want to you as human beings because we paid you billions. That's, to me, that's self-defeating to chase the billions. What we need to do is organize collectively at our local level. We need the white man. Whether we like it or not, we need the white man because they live among us. They surround us. We've got to remind them of what their responsibility is. We have 208 colonies on both sides of us. They always help us. They're in tune with the land. They know that they have a responsibility to protect the land. So if we're going to organize, we have to take the power away from the chief and council because they work for the crown. They work for colonial Canada. And they don't have our authority under our treaty to go and make deals with the Monio. They don't have our authority to sell our language to the Monio. They don't have our authority to go and traffic our children in their child welfare system. We have to take that back. And the only thing that the Indian Act Chief and Council ought to be administering are the programs and services that are part of the treaty obligations that fall under treaty promises. Like education, that's one of them. That's a program and also a service. But they do not have the jurisdiction to build these schools. Like right now we have how many schools in Musqueam? They're all owned by the federal government. They say, well, we used your trust money to build them, so they're yours now, you can run them now. But who dictates the curriculum? Not our people. So, I just want to give some thought to that to present that for now, to kind of, we have to organize ourselves in our own homelands. We have to give those options. And it's not to fight the chief and council. They are a part of us. They need to realize that they don't have our authority. The Monio gives them that authority, but the treaty does not. The Monio white supremacist constitution under section 9124 gives them that authority. And it's an authority that is assumed. It's an authority that the treaty could not have given them to piecemeal our motherland to the Monio and to sell her body, to desecrate her body. So I'll stop there for now. Hi.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria. It's always nice to have an elder in here to put things into perspective and to hold the knowledge. It's a blessing to have that knowledge here. Next, V. Emmanuel, you can speak. I see you had your hand raised for a while, but I don't want to interrupt an elder while they're speaking. So go ahead, V. Emmanuel. You can go ahead and speak. Unmute yourself.
Okay, I think I unmuted myself. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Okay, good stretch. I'm technically right now at the reparations settlement for celebration. where our community gathered over 300 communities on the national level in order to make the Day Scholar project happen, right? So we have a little bit of experience on gathering grassroots people together. So my questions are as follows. Which province would we register under? How many seats would there be? Would it be per region, per province? Because BC has its own, how do I say, political map, because there's over 205 of us as bands. And on top of that, we're, in order for this society structured to be successful, we would want things like MBAs, which is a Master of Business, designated chairpersons, directors, and whatnot. So we almost have to draw a map first, and then kind of fill in the blanks. Because obviously at that point, we're going to be looking for somebody who can professionally fundraise, who can professionally, you know what I mean, do marketing online and get us across the finish line when it comes to providing that foundation for a national organization. Because I think you're right, Hans. I think we're at the point where there's enough of us. If we get together, we have the opportunity to turn around and do really big things and change things at the legislative level and within our own communities, because all of us are cheering you on about, you know what I mean, getting through to the courts and getting through to the place where we're able to request our own documents and request our own information and have it come forward. And that's where you've been truly successful. So I think in order to put the two together, because I have high respect for all of the treaties and I understand that we all benefit from it, but here in BC, we're not treating. So like I said, it's about blending those two worlds, right? Because if you want a national organization, BC is different, right? Like you have to get the buy-in from 205 bands here. And like I said, we managed to get the Day Scholar lawsuit settled and kind of negotiated with, not necessarily on the national level, but just to get that kind of organization, to get everybody moving in the same direction. So that way we, for example, all show up at each other's functions, you know what I mean? Or we all find funders or whatever the case may be. Like it needs to have a structure, it needs to have minutes, it needs to have all of those things so people can learn, so we can teach the next generations to be the Hans McCarthy, you know what I mean? And those are just my thoughts for now. I'm just saying as we're trying to marry these two worlds in a roundabout way, like I said, BC is slightly different on that level, and you almost need people to be campaigning from community to community here in BC in order to make it a national organization, right? But if you're going to stay focused in Alberta, it's easier to do because then you're just dealing with the treaties, that kind of thing. So those kinds of questions need to be kind of brought forward and say, are we all kind of coming up with a representative, for example, Hans in Alberta, maybe Vine, BC, maybe, you know what I mean, like across the Canada, we pick one person who goes under the Societies Act, and then we start our foundation that way, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we have to kind of figure out. Because, for example, I presented and won $1 million project for my community. But in order to get it done, I had to wrap around 44 chiefs around it because it became a political football. Those 44 chiefs stopped the game and allowed me to do my good work. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying, is that some of us have experience in gathering all of those people together and getting them rowing in the same direction in the same canoe. But we kind of just need to know where the parameters are. So we need somebody to draft it or research what Alberta would do compared to BC, vice versa, right? So just my thoughts and ideas on it for now. I'll continue listening. Cook session. And thank you for everything. And hi to everybody. All right. Okay, doodles.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Emmanuel. I really appreciate your comments. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the reason why I wanted to have a meeting, because I know I don't have the tools all by myself, and there's no way that I could do this alone. It has to be everyone. Joseph will get to you in a bit here. It has to be everyone. I don't want to leave out no one. Like I said, all of Canada, Northwest Territories, all of us, we're all in this, the original peoples that were here before colonialism, and we all have our different ways. We have similarities and differences, and we got to respect each other, and respect what we say, and respect people's opinions, and come together. But that's the reason why I wanted to come here and have a meeting, and I really appreciate the different viewpoints. And let's sit down and figure this out and keep continuing on. So I'll let you speak, Joseph. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much for having this today. I've gone on a real learning journey over the last 8 years here. And I'm glad to be in this room. I like to see some form of unity on the national stage, something I never really saw before. Maybe it's because I didn't involve myself in it. I just kind of figured, I'm not First Nations, and that's their thing, and the Métis thing, I'm barely that because of so on and so forth. And I understand the fight, and I understand that there's things that had happened in the past, and if we're moving forward, and the Indian Act is a question that we're talking about still and again, which, great, you know what I mean? Let's talk about it. If there's things like Bill S2 that are coming down the pipeline, whether we agree with that or we don't agree with that, I'm unsure. I don't know all the clerical stuff behind that. All I know is that when we talk about including people and all this stuff like this, right, which great, you know what I mean? You're going to do that to the people that were marginalized, that were assimilated, and that are to this day are that don't carry the language but wish to, you know what I mean, that have a heart for the ancestors that passed away before, we're all at different levels of this shit, just like you said, Hans. Excuse my language. It's a wild time to be alive, and I'm really happy to see that we are now at the 150-year mark of what is called the Indian Act. And I think that if we can start something as a grassroots community, right, where we can come together and have some sort of celebration and some sort of reverence there with each other, and understand better where the 150th year of the Indian Act is taking us. I think that's a good start. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate your comments. Anyone else want to speak? If not, I'd like to conclude the meeting here. The recording is going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on my live. We heard some different opinions, which was really good. We want to go ahead and we want to start this and get going and unify people. Stay in tune. I will be announcing a lot of this on my social medias, as you guys can see. Get a hold of me, inbox me. And if you guys want to get a hold of me personally, my phone number is 780-360-4033. I'll put it in the comments. And you guys can text me, call me anytime. It'd be nice to hear your guys' opinions, and I really appreciate the opinions on everyone. Everyone have a good day. Thanks for your opinions. And we'll set up a meeting maybe within 2 weeks or a month's time. Depending on what goes on, you guys can give me feedback as much as you want. Thanks for showing up.